exponential growth. So that's what they mean by compounding habits. Like the first time you do it, it don't seem like much. But if you do it over a prolonged period of time, like each incremental time you do that action, you're actually improving a lot more.
Isn't it ironic that the author's name is James Clear?
That's mad. He's got clarity in his life.
Crazy.
So like throughout school, like we're in the classroom and teacher's explaining something. I'm looking over. It's like, bro, I'm flipping stupid. Like, you know what's crazy? You play all this FIFA, but you're dead.
Anyway.
Every time I come, Eamon's beating you.
Anyway.
Eamon.
He's going to clip that.
Eamon said, with the right combination of words, you can go from a paperclip to anything.
Something of value, yeah. Boom.
Do you want to explain what's going on here? New setting. Switched positions as well, because I'm normally on the left. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as this is book club, we have to speak in this tone. Apparently, by the way, guys, I really want to know, because Eamon's just got onto me about this. Yahya apparently agrees, but I really want to know from you guys, is my laugh annoying? Please comment down below.
Look. Didn't say it's annoying.
No, you said it's
loud.
Yeah, and you said another word before it that we won't say, but you did say that it was a problem.
I go with whatever Eamon says, I'll be honest.
Okay, no problem.
Eamon's the guy.
Cool.
He's the man behind it all. Everything you see is Eamon's work. Neymar.
May God bless
anyway, I think we should probably introduce what the hell this is. What's going on? Why are we here?
Of course they know. Well, they know because we told them last episode. And that last episode we filmed this week. And we did say that we're starting a new thing. And this is a new setup.
Fair enough.
For book club.
Okay, book club. Did we mention the book that we're going to be...
We did, and it's to my left. And I don't know if they can see it right now.
Show it.
But can they see it? I don't know. No, they can't see it. But this is the lovely book that we shall be speaking about throughout this episode. Okay? It's called Atomic Habits by the one and only James Clear.
Have you finished reading it yet, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, you finished it, yeah?
Yeah.
Question.
Here we go. He's gonna start testing me.
You started shaking and everything now. Generally speaking, like, do you read?
Yes and no. I read news. I don't read novels or things like this, for example. I don't even know what you call it, text.
This is like a productivity thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I had this thing where when I read, I like to break it down into finance, psychology, and productivity. So if I finish reading this book, for example,
that goes under productivity.
So now I can't do another productivity. I have to do with something else. Yeah.
Isn't it ironic that the author's name is James Clear?
That's mad. He's got clarity in his life.
Crazy. and now he's given us clarity through the words of inspiration that he's decided to... I would love to meet him.
You know what, actually? In clarity, genuinely, I wouldn't say like I've read that many books, but I've read a fair amount, and this is the clearest book. Like, the way the sentences are structured, and I just...
Very to the point. Very to the point, yeah.
Like, there's another book that's really good, and it's called 4-Hour Workweek, which I can't wait to...
What is that about, by the way? Should we do that?
We'll definitely. We have to do that.
Okay.
It's funny because I have a cousin, and everyone calls him the walking 4-hour work week.
Okay.
You know how people say like the walking Bible or
but
but yeah,
he lives by that.
Yeah.
I actually want to know about this book.
I think it'll be a really good episode. Maybe we should do that after this one.
100%.
But so yeah, like I was just going back to the whole clarity stuff. This book is written so well. Whereas other books like the 4-Hour Work Week, like I'd start getting pissed.
Okay.
Like I've read about 4 sentences and I'm like, this literally could have been done such a succinct way, like within 1 sentence. That's why I love this book. It's very valuable and it's written in a very succinct and powerful way.
That's good. It's very good. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I don't really read. I read news a lot more. Current events, what's going on around the world and stuff like that. And politics, because I'm really interested in politics. I know for you, you're not really as interested in politics as other things.
Yeah, you're probably right. Although,
and the other thing is, for example, sorry to cut you off, but audio for me, I get my main I don't know what they call it. I forgot what they call it. But my main sensory thing that I like to to take the most amount of information from is audio. So whether that's a podcast, whether that's, and I want to try this, audiobooks.
Have you tried it?
I've never tried it, but I want to try this now. Because from
Eamon just said it doesn't work for those.
Apparently, it doesn't work for some people. But I reckon for me, I think it would work because I was listening to a podcast this week from The Rest is Politics. It's like a podcast on. I think everybody should check it out. Really, if you are into politics, and they like were doing like a promo for Audible. Obviously, you've heard of Audible, so on and so forth, and they were speaking about how consuming literature through Audible is a lot easier. And for me, I think the whole thing of I consume knowledge when traveling because I travel all the time. Like going to work, going to anywhere in wherever I'm doing, I'm going somewhere. And that's like, even if I go out for a walk, for example, this morning I went out for a walk, I would want something in my ear while I'm having that conversation.
So you need to have something constantly happening. And this, I think we spoke about this like a few weeks ago, and the whole thing of flow state. Like you go into your flow state of full focus when things are around you. Like you can't be in a quiet room to focus. So like, it just kind of reiterates that like you have to have stuff happening in the background. Whereas
for that to happen, yeah,
I'm the complete opposite.
But that's interesting. Anyway, before we like get sidetracked, because we can get sidetracked, I was actually going to do something right at the beginning. But I think now it's just naturally happened like this, so there's no point in having that conversation. But with regards to Atomic Habits now, the book that we're going to be talking about, the first thing I think we need to tell everybody is if you would like to join us on this journey with regards to Atomic Habits, please do go down in the link below where you can be able to purchase Atomic Habits and read it for yourself. And genuinely, we want to have a discussion with you guys regarding the book and how it impacts your life and your perspective on the novel.
Yeah, I think for those of you that have already read the book or are reading the book, comment down below any benefits that you've kind of extracted from it. And let's keep it interactive.
Let's go. Now, if I was to talk to you about the actual title of the book.
Yes.
Break it down for me. What does atomic mean and what does habits mean?
Okay. So I actually put a lot of thought into this on the way here.
Okay.
And I think I've come up with a decent definition of what habits are.
Okay.
So if we break it down, atomic, something that's very, very small. Habits, the way I define it is how you would typically respond to a given situation. So for example, and I'm going to dive straight into it. If you're in a dark room, like let's say you're at home and the lights are all off, you just come back. The first thing you do is you want to put the light on. You don't start like taking a pen and paper out and start figuring out where the switch is. You just know where it is because you've done it so many times.
Okay.
So when you're in that dark room, the situation, you know how to respond kind of immediately because you've done it so many previous times.
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing is like, you know how to turn off a light switch without even thinking about it. Yeah. Like, you just go, boom, you know how to put it on because you've done it so many times before. And it leads me on to something that I wanted to like mention. This morning I picked up my nephew and took him to mosque.
Okay.
Partly the reason why we couldn't do the episode earlier.
Okay.
But so I picked him up, and when you go to the mosque, what do? You take your shoes off, whatever. I took his first shoe off, easy peasy. Then he started struggling on the second shoe. And
is that because somebody does it for him all the time?
So I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So I watched him. I have this thing, I don't like helping kids. Like as crazy as that sounds, I don't like helping kids, and I'll explain why. So he was struggling with his like right shoe, and he's like, you know how kids are like he's breathing heavily and stuff, yeah. And he kind of looked at me and like, you got this, like you're gonna do this. And like 30 seconds later, 40 seconds later, like he did it. And the reason why I did that is because I want to instill in him when he's in a situation of needing to, or a situation of discomfort, his first call out shouldn't be for help from other people. The first thing he should do is try and figure it out himself. And I know this sounds like a very small example, but when you take these examples constantly throughout years and years and years of practice, what happens is when he's in that situation, he doesn't just think, can you help me? And it happens in the workplace as well. It's like some people, you give them a role to do something, and it's like they do one thing and it's like, hey, what do I need to do next? Figure it out. Because if you keep doing that, like, it's just very inefficient. You take other people's time, and it's just not a good trait.
So it's more teaching your nephew the art of problem solving.
Yeah, I want him to develop a habit, because let's go back to the definition, how you typically respond to a situation. So let's take him out of that situation and put him into another one where it's like, I don't know what to do. Don't ask someone else. I'm not saying asking for help is a bad thing, but first try and figure it out yourself. Another time, like my other nephew, I don't spend 24/7 with my nephews and nieces, although it may seem like it. He was drawing, like he was following this tutorial and he was drawing, and he was doing all good and whatnot. And he came to a point where he's like, started crying. Like, what's going on? And it was because the person doing the tutorial did like a funky flick, and he was like, I can't do it. It's gonna mess up. I was like, no, you're gonna do it. If you mess up, you're going to rub it out. But I did that because it was like, even if he's scared to do something, do it and learn. Like, fail and you'll learn from it. And so I don't like helping kids. And I know, like, if my mom was there, she'd have a go at me, like, help him take his shoes off and this, that. But I think it's a powerful lesson.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
We don't really agree on much, but I definitely agree with you with that.
Yeah, man. Like,
it's that whole thing of I can teach a man how to catch a fish, or I can give a man a fish.
But you can't. It's better to teach them
teach him how to do it.
Yeah, like, and look, I'm saying this right now. Growing up, I had a lot of like love around me. Like, I was that child and whatnot, and there's a lot of benefits that come from it. But there's also disadvantages, and one of the disadvantages is, if I was put in an uncomfortable situation, my first thing to do was ask people, and it was never figure it out yourself. And it's only, I think, over the last 2-3 years that I've consciously said to myself, okay, whenever I felt the urge to ask someone, no, I'm figuring it out myself.
But you know what? I'm going to challenge you on that one, because the whole art of asking is also a strength.
100%, yeah.
So it's give and take. There's balance with that as well, in the sense where even if we look at it spiritually, you should ask people for guidance in terms of certain things.
For the things you don't know,
For the things you don't know.
Yeah.
And with any skill, you like, I think, and I was listening to somebody say this week as well, and they were saying that the art of a successful person is somebody that knows that he has flaws, somebody that knows that he's got weaknesses, and somebody that knows the limits of their strengths.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful.
Yes.
Because you know your strengths, but you know you have a lot of weaknesses.
Yes, 100%.
The minute you think that you don't have weaknesses, or you think you're not that flawed, is the minute that you're unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because it's so true. I think it's just like, at a young age, for you to figure out yourself, like what you're good at, you have to just try things and not ask for other people. I think the danger of it is, if you constantly have this thing of asking other people for help, you just become a very reliant individual.
Overly reliant, yeah.
Overly reliant. And we have responsibilities, right? And you know, it just becomes difficult for you to fulfill your responsibilities.
Okay.
When you're overly reliant. Now, going back to what you said, asking people, 100%. Like, a lot of good things that have happened to me have come from asking people. But that's because, going back to what you said, I know my weaknesses. I know I can't do this, so I need
give
help.
Me a weakness and how you've developed a habit to try and help that weakness. Okay. Wait, just let me know. Is that fine? Okay.
So a weakness that I've developed a habit to kind of improve on.
Okay.
I think it'd be that. Or are you saying asking for something separate to that?
Yeah. So firstly, tell me a weakness.
I think it would.
Start with a weakness. Just tell me a weakness first.
Okay, separate to what we've just discussed. A weakness of mine. I'm quite slow. So
With what?
processing things.
Really?
Yeah. So when I'm like, if I'm in a classroom,
Okay.
and this would happen throughout my school years, hashtag dyslexia.
Oh, you're dyslexic?
Yeah.
With
so,
numbers or with words? Letters?
Words. As in processing things. So, like
so do you get your
reading.
B's and P's wrong?
No. It's more reading. So when I read
Okay.
something, it takes me a lot of time to process it. So like throughout school, we're in the classroom, and teacher's explaining something. I'm looking over. It's like, bro, I'm flipping stupid. Like, how's everyone getting this? It's a new concept, and like, what the hell? What's going on? And then I'd go home and like work my ass off to try and like understand it. And I realized, whenever I found myself not understanding something, I'd never beat myself up about it.
Okay.
I was like, I just need more time, and I'd go home and make sure I get it inside out
Nail it.
better than everyone else.
So
I'm very slow.
that's the weakness that you can see it as a weakness, or you developed it into a strength, to be fair.
Yeah.
So your weakness was your processing
It's very
speed,
slow. Yeah.
and then you've developed the habit of working harder than everybody else to be able to get to where they are.
That, and like not beating myself up about it. I think that's important to
That's
mention
another
as
habit.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the context of business, I know I'm not good at this, so I'm gonna hire someone to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delegation.
Yeah. I don't think it's worth my time spending years, months trying to learn something when I can pay someone to
Do the same
do
thing.
it for me in a day.
100%.
Yeah.
I think if I was to answer the same question, I'd say the same thing. I think with me, one of my main weaknesses is doing everything. So categorizing priorities, that's one of my main problems. And sometimes I try to do too much. So for example, starting a podcast, like I've said before, I've wanted to do this for years, and I tried to do everything myself.
Yeah.
And because I tried to do everything myself, I did nothing. That was my weakness.
Yeah.
And then I think a habit that I've built up in terms of a strength. I don't know if you've realized this about me, but I think you're starting to realize it. I'm a bit of a control freak sometimes, where I like to take, not control, but I like to exert my thoughts overly all the time. But I think through experiences, through work, and just things that I've been involved in, for example, university societies, that taught me a lot.
Can I just say, you have university societies written on your forehead?
How?
Like, I don't know. I just envision you as someone that's just involved in uni societies.
That's what made me who I am. I'm not gonna lie, and I think, and I'll be sincerely honest with you. I think being involved in a society for me taught me more about how to work with people than anything else that I've been involved in. I think corporate workplaces or corporate environments are very, you do this, you do that. You don't really deal with emotion as much as you do within university societies. And I actually genuinely urge everybody to get involved in that, because I think
what society were you involved in?
North African Society. Yeah.
Okay.
And
were
I
you
think
the president? You just
I became president of my university society.
Jeez, banging.
But I did learn a lot through why I say I think I learned more that way is because if you look at the relationships at your work, would you say that your relationship with your female counterparts, you understand the female side of it?
What do you mean?
So for example, within North African societies now, it wasn't just male dominated. It wasn't just a male dominated environment. Like
Was
we
it
had
female dominated?
No, it was a bit of both.
Mixed.
Like it was 50-50.
Okay.
And a lot of us, everybody had a role, and that's why it worked. And everybody knew what they wanted to do and what they had to do, and it worked. Now the problem with that is, when what I learned was, sometimes you give a role to somebody that doesn't want that role, or they may feel undervalued. Then I learned another skill, another habit of ask people if they're all right. Are they happy with what they're doing? They might be happy with being involved in a collective, but they might not be happy with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that can be problematic because they'll feel undervalued.
Yeah.
And the minute we know this as well, the minute somebody's undervalued, they feel as though that's it. It's like, there's more to meaning than this. I don't want to be involved in this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's one of the key things that even like with jobs, people feel like, oh, I'm like, I don't feel like I have a say. Even in friendship groups, bro. I felt like I've distanced myself from friendship groups where I feel like I don't really add value. Like I'm just there. So I think that probably applies in way more than you think.
100%.
Yeah.
Mate, we started talking about our conversation about our lives just from literally the title. That's crazy, isn't it?
That's how deep it can get.
But if you were to look at Atomic Habits as a novel in general, obviously just to give people like a bit of a context behind it, it is inspired by Dave Brailsford.
Who's that?
That's the guy behind the cycling team, the British cycling team.
Yeah.
And like how he was able to change the habits of a sporting environment and make them so much more successful.
Yeah.
Like how you can go from being probably the worst performing cycling team to the point where like certain bike manufacturers are like, listen mate, we ain't selling you a bike, mate. Yeah, it's not good enough. To then becoming the face of everything, basically. Yeah,
so just for context, for those of you that haven't yet read Atomic Habits, so the British cycling team were basically shit for, was it 40 years?
I think it's like 20 something years. Or
basically
years,
a long time.
To be fair.
And it came to a point where, like you said, oh, you're laughing.
I think Eamon's just funny.
Oh yeah, Eamon always does funny stuff in the background. But it came to a point where even like companies didn't want to like sponsor them or whatever. And this guy who you've just mentioned, Dave Brailsford, he came in and he basically changed everything so subtly. So when we say everything, things like the tires, the seat, the position of the seat, or something like that.
And right? I think even the clothing. So it went from outdoor to indoor clothing because it made them a lot more streamlined. Yeah, and like I don't know, was it something to do like the physics or the aerodynamic of what they were wearing? Yeah. So he basically made small changes to so many different things, and cut long story short, it came to a point where the British cycling team just basically became the best or one of the best. Am I right? Yeah. And what that goes to show is he made these changes subtly. So when we think of change, we often think of it as I need to do this one gigantic thing that's going to change the trajectory of everything. But what we don't realize is it's the result of making changes to a small degree. And I'll go back to that analogy, and I mentioned it in a few podcasts ago, of the plane. So you have two planes that depart from the same airport. One goes 5 minutes before and heads in a specific direction. The other one also departs from the same place, heads to the same direction for a little bit, and then just slightly, very slightly, changes its trajectory. And what happens is over a prolonged period of time, they end up in completely different destinations. Why? Because they were, the idea is, although you've made like a small change, because you're doing it over a prolonged period of time, the effects are astronomical. Yeah.
And I thought that example was in the book, and I thought that was quite sick. Just showing you, like, for example, you want to go to the gym. One day you're like, you make up an excuse, and your friend goes, I'm the excuse guy, I can't lie, for gym. And your friend goes, and you keep doing it. Over a prolonged period of time, your friend's out here looking lame. And
Yeah,
you've just
and just out here.
just out here. But yeah, man, it's habit, and it's also,
You touched upon it. I think what you touched on was really, really, really powerful, and I did note this down when I was reading it. The fact that we think of massive
events.
action to be massive success,
Yeah.
whereas it's small action over a longer period of time where the success really does come.
Yeah, and if we look at it from a business perspective, what's the goal of any business?
To make money.
To make money. Now, you can make money by like marketing your stuff and whatnot, okay? Like you have affiliate programs, for example.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like an immediate return. Like you pay an influencer to promote your thing, and they promote it and people buy it, and you see instant returns.
Yeah.
But a lot of brands and companies, they have like sales as a metric that they want to improve, but they also have brand image. So they work on things to improve their brand image that might not necessarily get their sales up. But it's like they might do that over a prolonged period of time, and then you're like, oh, I've heard of that name. So yeah, like that just goes to show.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask you a question, yeah, regarding brand image.
Yeah.
I think it's quite important.
Perspective.
Yeah, perspective.
Yeah. We had this talk about
what's our brand image?
What's our brand image?
Because this is genuinely a conversation that we'd have off camera, and I think we should have this on camera.
What's our brand image? I think we're still building it. Like, it's very early days.
Where would you want it to go?
I think this is a good time to explain what I said on the group chat about perspective and why it's spelled the way it is.
Okay.
Perspective is spelt the way it is because the idea is when we bring guests on, a lot of the time we feel like we have a decent understanding of the world. And when you bring someone that specializes in a specific field, you're kind of like, whoa, I didn't know that. And it could be any field, bro. There's always something interesting to learn from that's like throws you off. And the reason why perspective is spelt with a Q is because if I say to you spell perspective, how it's gonna be spelt. Mm-hmm. But when you see a Q, it throws you off and it gets you thinking. And that's the idea. Like, we're hoping, and the mission is to bring people on that will, provide us insights and their perspectives that kind of make us think. Oh,
and inspire us as well.
That's interesting.
I was having a conversation yesterday with two people, and they're in this building a lot. Okay. So the first one's a security guard, and he watches this.
The guy that got
he watches this. So shout out McLaren, innit?
Absolutely.
McLaren's legend, man.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about something yesterday, and I was just like, wow. Imagine this guy, yeah. He studies criminology, sociology, and also psychology currently in his spare time.
Oh, man.
At university.
Oh, man.
Okay. I think he was telling me he has a previous degree in something to do with finance. I forgot what it was. But now he's doing all these three things here.
Yeah.
And I was just like to him, I asked him genuinely, I was like, why are you studying this? Okay. And I wanted to understand his perspective on why he's studying this. Then he goes to me, I'm studying this because I want to understand why there's certain demographics in the world that are labeled as certain things for any specific reason. And I'll give you context behind this. Now, he said, for example, there's a large population of people that believe that black people are criminals for a certain reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he wanted to look at why there was a case within people. So I think it's one kid that lives wherever he lives. Mm-hmm. And he was saying he's 15 years old and he comes from a single parent household and he's now a criminal. What makes him a criminal? Is it what sociology tells you, which could be the fact that he lived in a single parent household, didn't have a male figure, so on and so forth? Or is it his psychology, where because he didn't have a male figure, that meant that he didn't get certain things that rewired his brain? Or is it the third thing, criminology? Is it the idea that that free will, he chose the idea to deviate towards becoming a criminal? Now, after learning all of this and having a conversation with him properly, he sees that the idea of justice to be important to him, hence why he's studying this. And that's what I took from him. He didn't say it, he didn't elaborate on this, but the main conversation I had with him was that. And I think maybe something happened in the past, whether it was him growing up or maybe experiences, because he's lived in like Austria, I think he was saying to me, and also here. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's done that. And I think every single person has something that's happening in their life, or that's currently happening right now, that shifts your whole narrative on who you are as a person.
Yeah, and it goes to the whole.
And you learn a lot. And like, even for me, for example, when I had that conversation with him, I was like, oh wow, I took a lot from that. Because I was looking at myself, and we can all reflect on this, where why do we do what we do?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to that whole trauma conversation, right? Like things that happen in your life shape who you are, and you might not realize it in that moment in time, but it definitely does shape who you are. Yeah, 100%. But anyway, going back to atomic habits. I think there were a few notes that you wanted to discuss.
I wanted to hit you with a few numbers. Okay. So your previous point was that we convince ourselves that massive action equals massive success. But also, if we look at that mathematically...
no, I disagreed with that.
What do you mean? I'm saying we think that massive action equals massive success. But the reality is small
compounded
action equals... And if we look at the numbers behind that... it's more consistent action.
Thank you very much.
And if we look at the numbers behind that, being 1% better every day equals being 37 times better by the end of the year.
And that's compounding.
Explain compounding, because you're so much better at explaining than me.
Compounding. So I think I used that pizza example last time.
Yeah.
But it didn't get released.
Yeah.
So imagine you have a pizza box that's small size and a pizza box that's a big size. If you take 1% of the small one and 1% of the big one, in which case you have the bigger slice?
The bigger one.
The big one, yeah. The amount and the percentage stays the same, but it's the size that's different. Yeah. So if you let's look at it from a money perspective. If you have £100 and you get you invest it somewhere and you get 10% back, you get £10 because £10 is 10% of 100. So now you've got £110. Now, if you do the same thing to that, if you apply 10% to 110, would that be bigger or smaller? Bigger. And if you keep on doing that, you'll see that an incremental 10% is actually worth more. And it's from a graph perspective, it's like this exponential thing. That's what compounding is. So it's not linear. So it's not like I put £100 and I get 10%, get £10 back. I don't get £10 again and again and again and again. So it's like, it's not 110, 120, 130. It's more 110. And then 10% of 110 is 121. So it's like 11 now. And it's more and it's more and it's more. Exponential growth. So that's what they mean by compounding habits. Like the first time you do it, you'll see
it doesn't seem like much.
It don't seem like much. And you will see a return, maybe, depending on the thing. But if you do it over a prolonged period of time, like each incremental time you do that action, you're actually improving a lot more.
I would love to know what's something that you can like do with £100 to get it to as much as it can be. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? If you use the same analogy that you just used. Yeah, where they go from like £100 to 100 grand from that. Or
I
do you
don't-
remember that challenge? The paper, the what's it called? The paper clip one.
Yeah. Where you
That
flip it.
technically is compounding. It's the same action over and over again. That is compounding.
That's a very good question.
It is.
Yeah.
That's compounding.
I think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. That is true.
That
But
is mental.
I think compounding.
Explain it actually. I beg you just explain the paperclip challenge. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but someone starts off with a paperclip.
Yeah.
They trade it for something else
Yeah.
that they deem to be more valuable,
Yeah.
and obviously the counterpart also deems like a fair trade.
Yeah.
And then so let's say a paperclip, and then he gets a pen. He takes the pen and he switches it for a book,
Yeah.
and then he keeps on doing that until he gets a house or something.
Yeah. I've done this.
Have you?
I've actually done this.
What have you done?
Now, it was part of an interview,
Okay.
and I was applying to become a street fundraiser when I was 18 at Oxfam, and the whole basic narrative behind that job was you need to be able to sell something to people, and obviously it's such a sales technique and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So they gave us all. We were in Victoria. They gave us all a paper clip. Yeah.
Swear.
Literally the exact same thing, paper clip. And they said, we want you for the next hour to trade this paper clip for as much as you can within this hour. And whoever's got the, I
Most
think it was
value.
the top 10, I think there was about 35 people there.
Yeah.
The top 10 will
Yeah.
get the job.
Mad.
Okay.
Okay.
And I remember I went from a paper clip, somebody gave me a bottle, then I got a book,
Mm-hmm.
then I got something else. And I think the value was about £25 at the end.
25
Within
extra.
that hour.
Nice.
And it was crazy.
That's sick. Did you get the highest or one of the highest or what?
I was in the top 10.
What did they like?
And I would love to do it on camera, you know. Actually,
What was
I
the
think-
most that someone got to?
I can't remember that. I just remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
can't remember that because it was a few years ago, but I can't remember that. But I think
That's
genuinely,
mad.
yeah, I want to do that again.
I've never thought of. It's true.
Yeah, repeat what
So-
Eamon just said because he's actually not.
Yeah.
His mic's not on today.
Eamon said, with the right combination of words, you can go from a paperclip to
Something
anything.
of value, yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. It's like how you sell yourself, how you market yourself.
And it's crazy because we've also done a video before, and me and Eamon were involved in this, where
Raw.
we tried to tell people to come to a restaurant and have dinner with us, and they
Oh
refused.
really?
And they refused, yeah,
Was it on YouTube?
yeah,
No way. Is it still up?
yeah.
I want to watch that. I want to watch that. Link in the description.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That is mad. I'd love to.
But compounding is
Yeah.
basically that.
Yeah, and it's I never thought of compounding as that. Like in my mind, it was like this consistent thing. What's not?
It is compounding. How is it not compound?
It can be in it, but it's with money and interest and stuff. It's a fixed rate, or there's a
I thought that until he said this, but that's not true.
there's variable interest rates as well.
Yeah, so it can be.
Explain what you said as well.
It's always going up. It's gonna
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be like I said, 10%, 10%, 10%. That's just an example. In the real world, that's not the case,
Mm.
and in this case, that's not the case.
But
Like
it's the same action, so
it's
how
the
can
same thing. You're
yeah.
right. You're right.
some days you get better, some days
Yeah, sometimes you might.
the
Yeah,
main thing behind habit is action.
showing up.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you look at a paperclip challenge, it's the exact same action. You're literally
Mm.
doing the same thing, just with something else after that changes.
Mm.
So technically, like, anyway, that's besides the point. We'll get sidetracked with this.
Atomic habits.
Conversely, being 1% worse every day, what does that do?
The opposite effect of the whole plane thing. You end up.
And within the year, you get down to 0.
I was about to say something, but I knew you would have bleeped it, so I just
Yeah.
saved you from
So let's
editing.
not say that. You get down to 0. And which basically just says that. And the main thing, I think, if
How
we
do you
look
get worse at something? Like just not doing anything.
Okay, let's use this example. You go to the gym for 10 minutes a day, every day.
Yeah.
By the end of that year,
Mm.
you're going to be bigger,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be slimmer, or whatever you do. Let's say, for example, 10 minutes a day, you run in the gym. That's it. Just 10 minutes. Okay? By the end of that year, you're going to be, your cardiovascular exercise will get endurance will get a lot better within that year.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you're gonna go from not being able to run 10k to being able to run a half marathon. I personally think within that time frame, if you only did 10 minutes, you'll be able to run a half marathon. Maybe not to the greatest of times, but you'll definitely be able to finish it.
Yeah.
You'll definitely notice. Yeah, you'll notice a massive difference. However, if you didn't do anything, so you're getting.
Oh yeah.
So, but how do you get 1% worse? Let's say, for example,
I think
today.
inaction.
Yeah, today you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you didn't do anything, and you also had a fizzy drink. The day after you didn't have anything.
Just let loose.
Yeah, and you had a fizzy drink and a pack of crisps.
Yeah.
And then after that you had fried wing, and then after that you had a box meal. And so on and so forth. You're gonna get down to zero, mate. Basically done nothing.
No, you're right. 100%.
So yeah,
I just wanted to slightly shift onto the next segment I wanted to speak about, which was starting new habits. Everyone wants to start like new good habits, whether it's looking after your health or maintaining good relationships with your family or whatever. How do you think, how would you advise someone to start a new habit that's a positive one?
I think the main thing is what's your why? And I'll give you an example for this. It's quite personal, but I'm going to say it.
Finally, Bendif's getting personal. Vulnerable.
I used to have, so when I first got married, I had a bad habit. And my bad habit was that I wouldn't clean up after myself. And I would also be happy with the mess that I create. So it's basically the same thing. Now, bit by bit, and genuinely, I took this book to help me with this. I started every day by doing 1% extra. And at first, it wasn't noticeable. But then by the end of what I wanted to achieve, and I did achieve, it wasn't hard. So at first it was and please don't judge me when I say this, after I finish sleeping or whatnot, and I leave the bed, I'll do the bed.
Sleeping is such a funny word.
And I'll do the bed. But stuff like this, for example, this is so bad to say, but this is something that my mum used to do all the time. She'll even do my bed. Okay. And it wasn't habitual. Then after that, it was, for example, I also had a bad habit of I'd sleep late and I'd also snack at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd leave the mess on the table. But then the thing after that, what I would do was I would make sure that I'd clean that up. Then I would also leave the dishes out and I'd make sure I do that. Then it would be, for example, I'd leave the counter of the kitchen dirty. So now what I do is I do that. And then it'd be so on and so forth. Until, and my wife actually makes a joke about this. She goes, since we moved into the house, you've never touched the Hoover.
Oh, because you've never needed to.
But now I've touched it.
Oh.
So it's like bit by bit. And now genuinely, like the relationship between me and doing work at home now has become enjoyable because of the fact that I do it every single day.
That's a key thing that I wanted to talk about. When you're starting new habits, so let's break that down. What is your why?
My why was started to cause friction at home.
Okay.
And I didn't want that.
So the reason why I asked you what is your why is because
I didn't want that friction that I'm causing.
And that's a good reason. That's a good enough reason. Why would you want friction?
Why would you want friction? What?
Why would you want friction?
The question is very simple.
Okay. Why? Okay, let's answer the question.
Okay, let's answer
Why
the
do
question.
I not want friction in a relationship? Of course, I don't want friction. I don't want friction in a relationship because it causes divide.
Why do you not
between
want
two people.
divide?
Why do you not want divide? It's like I'm talking to the 5-year-old.
Anyway, the reason why I asked you like what is your why is because I think that's an excellent place to start. I don't think it's enough to keep you going.
100%.
So why do you want to stop smoking?
Yeah.
Because it's not good for you. That's so funny. Because it's not good for you.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? That's marginal gains, mate. He's doing the same thing over and over again. I get the same reaction. That's actually an atomic habit.
Sorry. Okay, so let me say that again. to get you started on a new habit, you're right. You should ask yourself, why are you doing this? And if that's strong enough, it will get you up and it will get you started. The reason why it's not enough to keep you going is if we look at the context of smoking, why do people want to quit? Because of their health. But people still buy cigarettes, even though it says, oh, you know, on the packet, like, this will kill you a lot earlier, blah, 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 blah. And then you have to ask yourself, well, if my why isn't strong enough to keep me going, what is or what does? Which in the book, it mentions things like, you know, making the habit or the thing that you have to do enjoyable. So, you know, after you do it, reward yourself with X, Y, and Z. And there's multiple different things that we can speak about that are beneficial.
That's actually mad, you know, because you're right. Because if I use the same example, after I do everything, I reward myself by playing FIFA, and I enjoy it.
There you go. You're always
And you
playing
get
FIFA, you know.
Ah,
Whenever I
mate.
call you, yeah, what's going on? I'm playing FIFA right now.
Listen, that's my reward. Because it's so easy to just turn it on, but now I use it to reward myself. Anyway, that's besides the point. The point is, you said productivity basically compounds. Positive productivity will affect your relationship in a good way. It will affect your everything around you will just improve. Your health will improve, for example. But you know what? I want to stop you on one thing. You said about cigarettes, for example. Cigarettes on the packet, it says it's not good for you. However, and you said the why is, for example, for some people it may be they want to help their health and they want to improve their health and whatnot. That's not enough of a why. And I'll tell you why. In order for you to stop a habit that you don't want to do, you have to consciously have that conversation. And I don't think for you to say to yourself that I want to improve my health, I don't think that's enough. It's definitely not enough.
That's interesting, you know. Like, do you mean having a conversation genuinely, like talking to yourself?
Of course.
Because let's say I smoke, which I don't. And I wanted to stop. I know why I want to stop. But let's say I get an urge. I should actually stop and be like, why do you want to do this? Like, is that what you mean?
Look at yourself. It has to be within.
It's true, but it's easier said than done, isn't it?
100% is easier said than done.
Yeah, so it's like, I would love to have someone on the podcast that stops smoking. Like, that is an insane act. Like, nicotine is extremely addictive. For you to go from someone that's smoking every day to being like, what's the word? Forget the word.
I knew he was going to say rehab. I knew he was going to say
No, it wasn't rehab, but it's close to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's an achievement, bro. That is nuts. Big
Listen,
props.
we keep talking about the fact that we're guest, and that's coming soon. That was a great little interlude.
Oh God.
But the reality is the same, innit? Like you said, with compounding, it can be either positive or negative. And I think the main narrative of the whole book that we've been through is that. And yeah,
and just to hammer that point home, like, for you to, you know, start a habit, a positive one, I think you should try and find something that you can see. Okay, so this will bring me on to my next point, which is seeing progress. Okay, so one of the things that the book mentions, and I just remembered this actually, is if you were to stop smoking or if you were to start the gym and you had a calendar on your wall and you crossed out every day and you see like, oh, there's a streak. I've been doing this for like 5 days, 6 days, 10 days. You don't want to break that streak. So just seeing progress might be something that works for you to continue whatever it is that you've started.
100%. Now, I think with all of us now, the main last thing I think that we need to discuss from it is the whole thing of doing that one thing a day improves your life so much, like we said, but also you're able to think of other more complex things in your life because you then automate one thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
So, okay, for example, you may have a dilemma. For example, for me now, like I said, it was the whole thing of at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Problems cause your brain to fog up. Okay. So Yeah, it is scientific. It actually genuinely, it fogs your brain up. Okay? So there are things that you think about every single day that will be at the back of your mind. Yeah, and it takes space in your mind. For example, and like for me at the beginning, when I first moved in, was the fact that I'm doing that, but I kept it to the back of my mind and I didn't address it. Now when I addressed it, I'm able to do other stuff in my head. Okay? For example, now I am a lot more fitter. Like I genuinely go to the gym, I run a lot more because of the fact that I've caused one thing to come out of my head. Okay? Now I'm able to that, and I automate that now, and I'm able to focus on other things. Another thing's healthy eating. My diet became a lot worse because of the fact that I was just slouching all the time and so on and so forth. Put on quite a bit of weight, but now, after I finish everything that I do at home, I reward myself obviously by playing FIFA, and also.
Do you know what's crazy? You play all this FIFA, but you're dead.
Anyway,
Every time I come, Eamon's beating you.
Anyway,
Eamon.
he's gonna clip that. And then so then and also improve my diet and my fitness and so on and so forth. So that automated task is helping me in other ways, and I think that's another thing that we can take away.
Yeah, it's funny how different things work for different people. Like, you know, you mentioned food. I didn't know the effect of healthy eating until I was proper on it. Like there was
Crazy,
a period,
isn't it?
yeah, like there was a period where like when I first started like going to the gym ever, and I saw what they call virgin gains. Like, you know, the first time you go, it's like, I'm getting bigger. And I was eating well, and I was like, I would hate the fact that, like, I would look at a sweet and I wouldn't even want to go near it.
Yeah,
And I just felt like mentally better.
100%.
But you're right. Like, problems do fog up your mind, and that's why it's important to have external opinions. Like, let's say I'm trying to figure something out, and this happens to me, bro. Sometimes I'm looking at a problem, and I'm trying to figure it out, and this is a problem that it's a habit. I can always figure it out, but I just can't. Like, what's wrong with this? Like, why isn't this the? And then I show someone else. I'm like, yo, my mind's just not working right now. Can you look at this? Boom.
It's a lot better.
They're just able to sort it out, because you're right. Like, when you have like that fog, you just can't think straight.
100%. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for firstly telling me about this book, and secondly telling them about that book. And once again, if you would like to purchase this book, the link will be down below. And if you purchase it, you'll be helping us as well.
Is it an affiliate thing? Yeah,
it definitely is an affiliate thing.
Dang.
So yeah, guys, listen. I didn't
only if you want, guys.
Only if you want.
Only if
but
you
I
want.
didn't say right at the start of the episode, but 48.3% of you guys.
Okay, go on. Yeah. Is it 48.3? He's gone back up.
No. I'm saying, but technically we couldn't have data because of the lack of episodes. But 48.3% of you guys didn't subscribe in episode 8. Episode 7. Then episode 8, 46.3% of you guys are unsubscribed. So we've improved by 2%. Marginal gains.
Love it.
Atomic habits. Now, create a habit, guys.
And just press that
And
button.
just press that button.
Only for perspective, though.
Because you will be rewarded every single Sunday with new content.
Bendif's excited.
Theoretically.
Until Bendif goes off.
And also improved episodes. Because the guests are coming, as we've been saying all after this year.
How frequently are you doing book club?
I really
Once a
like
month.
this. This was flipping sick.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, basically the whole affiliate stuff, it's more of a thing to just improve us.
100%.
Like these conversations and whatnot before people start thinking, rah, these men trying to make money on less than 1,000 subs.
Nah, brother.
I mean, it's not like we're going to make a lot anyway. Maybe like a tenner.
Yeah.
It's true.
It'll pay for Eamon's.
For what?
It might get
Eamon's
him
mic.
from Poundland.
If you would like Eamon's mic. Anyway.
These mics don't cost a ton.
Yeah. All right. Listen, guys, thank you so much for watching us. Honestly, we appreciate it all the time. We appreciate the love as well. But we do want to leave you guys with one more thing, and that is we want to learn more about what habits you want to create for a weakness of yours and how you're going to do it in the comments below. That's how
and look, perspective. This is what
We
it's
wanna
about.
learn
We want
genuinely
to know
from you
what you
guys.
guys are thinking. Because I'm not trying to have a conversation of perspective of just you. I
That's
want to
such a
see what
vibe.
people are saying in the comment section.
That's such a vibe, but I'm not gonna take it personally because perspective in it. Don't know.
Perspective. So yeah, like if you have anything to comment or value, let us know in the comments down below. And I genuinely really enjoyed this episode. I feel like
Same.
when we have like a structure from a book, it's pretty cool. Question for me, because I don't even know. The next episode, do we carry on from Atomic Habits or is it a new book?
Definitely a new book.
New book.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just
Definitely
like
covered
something
it.
subtle. Boom,
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah.
Okay, and let us know if there's any books that you recommend.
If you're gonna do that, then just do like a summary, of what you learned from the book, what you learned from the book.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Cool. And just one thing I wanted to ask was, you know how I read books? I do.
Write that down, by the way. What you just said, because that was powerful. Yeah.
You're moving like amen.
Yeah.
I wanna, and feel free to jump in, but not have like a productivity book every time. So I think we should
Could be
split up
different, yeah, yeah.
finance,
Yeah, yeah.
psychology, and
Mhm.
should those three be the?
100%.
Why do you want friction in your marriage? Why don't you want? friction
No
in
way.
your
He
marriage?
said non-fiction.
It's great.
No, but yeah, apparently he said non-fiction.
Eamon doesn't want to get married.
Yeah. Anyway.
He wants friction in his life.
Oh, he's gonna clip that. Anyway, we'll talk about this off air. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything. You guys have
Thank
been
you.
amazing. The guests are coming.
And that's that. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Spend time with your family, and we'll see you in the next video. And read a book.
Bye.